Good afternoon, all.
Can you hear me, Leslie?
Yes.
Okay. I just finished the slides.
Perfect timing.
Do you want to put this on Facebook?
I don't think the first one, no.
Okay.
Nobody else is on?
They're arriving. Is this Mrs. Ponce with E. Rosario's name on it? Rachel, is that you?
Yes,
Are you using Esther's or is that you?
it's me, and I'm at Esther, so that's why it's E. Rosario.
Hi,
Okay.
Esther.
Hi, how are ya?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
All right, so we're gonna try to make this work for Mom.
Okay. We just
Look
changed your
at
name.
you changing. Oh, Don changed it?
Yeah, I can change it.
Oh.
There you are.
Nice to meet you, Esther.
Nice to meet you as well.
And this
Okay.
is my other daughter, since we're all here.
Hi.
This is
Thank you for helping.
Patricia.
Official, Patricia.
Patricia.
It's a family affair. That's why we're not doing Facebook yet.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go, right? This can get crazy. I'm trying to find, let's see. Enhance encryption, meeting information.
It's okay if they don't see me, as
Yeah,
long as
they
they
do
hear
see
me.
Yeah, okay, start video, mute. There's mute.
How to do that. so
Okay,
you gotta
all
leave
right,
me on
can we
all the
just do a
time.
real quick test? Okay, I'm gonna test mute and then
Absolutely.
where you can hear us all fine.
We can hear you.
Okay,
Now we cannot.
perfect. So that's
Now
your
we
mute
can.
and unmute button.
Okay,
Okay, there's a start video. Are we gonna do a video?
Yes.
No. Okay, perfect.
oh, I thought.
I
you
think
said-
she's,
Well,
Okay.
you can see us. We can't see you. If you would like to be seen, that's awesome. If not, we respect that.
she's fine. We can see you fine. Perfectly. Okay,
Okay.
you're on.
Yay. Hey, Dave.
Gallery, as you can see everything.
Okay.
Dave Maderos is our
Okay.
HRB chair. Hi.
Hi.
Yes. Hi, Rachel.
Dave, do you know Rachel Ponce? Where's the girls?
They
Did
left.
They ducked out.
Yeah.
I'll stay here in case you need it.
Dave, we cannot hear you. Are you talking to yourself? There you go. You're connecting to audio now.
But he's muted. Okay, there you go.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, David.
Hi.
So Scott Fields was stuck in traffic about half hour ago. Said he might be late, Leslie. And I sent a text to Yolanda this morning.
If you want to go be here. I take that back. She asked me if I was going to be here. I don't recall if she said if she was going to be or not.
Okay.
Just holler if you need anything.
Okay.
Well, there's Scott. Great.
Can't believe I made it.
Awesome. In one
I
piece.
said, you have plenty of time if you're in Morgan Hill.
Morgan Hill is bumper to bumper traffic. I had to do the back road stuff. Holy moly. There is nothing worse than dragging a travel trailer through the East Bay. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm stressed.
Oh, man, I'm sorry. Every time the MapQuest tells me to go through the East Bay instead of going over Pacheco Pass, I say, nope, we're going over Pacheco Pass.
Nope. I know. This time I didn't go down 880. 880 was a nightmare going up. So never again. I need a glass of water.
Yolanda's trying to get on right now.
Okay. Works for everyone else. This is not the panel, the webinar Zoom application. This is just a normal slice spread version.
Eight, 4, 5, 2, 0, 1, 7, 2, 3, 9, 4.
Leslie, I forgot to put Pledge of Allegiance on the agenda. Could we amend the agenda to include that?
Sure.
It should be at the top of the order, by the way. So Salinas High School was in lockdown all day.
Why?
Student with a gun on campus.
What happened?
A student with a gun on campus. So of course, I've been texting my 15-year-old all day, wondering how he's doing. But he's fine. There's Yolanda. Yolanda's here.
Okay. I thought I just heard a gunshot.
I didn't hear it.
Morning, everyone. Oh, I mean afternoon. Afternoon.
Hey,
Hey,
What happened to David?
he's there.
I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know. There he
There
is.
you are.
All right.
All right, do we have everybody now?
We do. That's
Let's
great.
get this
Thank you,
party
everybody.
started.
Yeah. Right, thank you, everybody. Sorry I didn't get this agenda out Friday, but it's a fairly light agenda, pretty much asking for all of us to talk about ourselves and what are our priorities and interests. I do have some slides to share that follow the agenda for the most part, so if you like, I'll dig into them. Just to help guide us.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, this is where we're at. About 4 or 5, that's how we got here. And this is what we're gonna do today. We all know each other, I hope, maybe so, maybe not, but it's always good to just make sure and and make sure everyone feels comfortable with introductions. And then we're hoping for a new chair of the committee to be approved today, and then a vice chair. And then we'll go through the purpose and background a little bit. Each member would be invited to describe their interest in being on the subcommittee. And the subcommittee will determine if it'll be a standing committee or an ad hoc committee, and we'll get into that. And then we'll take a stab at a mission statement. I wanted to thank David for all the information he sent. There is some information in there about mission statements and so forth. So if you have the time, it's not before the meeting today, then maybe later this week, you can check that out. And then whether or not we want to meet on the third Monday of each month at 6 p.m. or 4 p.m. or whatever works best, but I was hoping it would be the third Monday so that I could give updates to the council at their council meeting on Tuesdays. So with that, we want to go around the horn and say hi to everybody. Starting with the mayor.
Yeah, hi. I'm the mayor, Leslie Jordan. Welcome all. Hey.
Scott?
Yep, Scott, everybody knows me. Hi.
Okay. David?
Yeah, hi, hello, everybody. Glad to be here. Glad to see everybody.
And Yolanda?
Thanks for
Hi,
the
everyone.
invite.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Yolanda Delgado, and I think all of you know me, right, Mrs. Ponce? I'm on the chair in Historical Society. I've heard you on council. I appreciate your activism and love for this city as I do. So thank you for joining us. Thank you all for letting me join.
Rachel?
Thank you. And yes, I do know everybody, and I'm looking forward to working with all. I think this is a very important step for our city, and hopefully our mission statement will help the community feel secure in the work that we will do on this committee. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Rachel. Thank you for joining us. All right. So with that, we should start with our leadership and our governance. And so I've just listed these two items together. Is there anybody who would like to nominate someone or nominate themselves to be the chair of the committee today? Or did you want to talk about it as a group?
I nominate Leslie Jordan as the chair.
I second it.
Oh, thank you. I
All in
third it.
favor? Any other nominations?
Nope.
Vote on that? Oh, we don't have to vote. Well, yes, let's vote on that. We can do it all together. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, Leslie, you are the chair of the safety subcommittee.
You know, Mayor, you get the same pay as the other one too. Usually rewarded, okay?
Double.
Double.
Wait a minute. I thought I heard somebody say we don't get paid. Is that true?
Yeah, we get all the headaches and all the complaints. What else, right?
That's our payment. I got it. Got it. Next.
Yes.
No good deed goes unpunished. No, the treasurer does get paid, by the way, just FYI. He takes the check. City clerk does not. So there you go. Okay, so Leslie?
Okay, sorry. Nominations for vice chair. Do we have any?
I nominate Rachel Ponce.
I second that.
I third it.
Well, does Rachel want it?
Rachel, do you want to be the vice chair?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Way to go, Rachel.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Rachel. All right. So moving right along. The purpose as a reminder, and for Rachel, who wasn't necessarily part of these conversations directly, but she was probably listening. I'll say, well, first of all, just my own background. When I worked for a small city, city of Moore Park, it had a contract with the Ventura County Sheriff to be their police department. And the lieutenant acted as the chief of police. He was actually the assigned lieutenant to our little city, was called the chief of police. Fire district, Ventura County Fire District, was located across the street, and they provided fire services. But there were a number of things that City Hall had to do. And so as administrative services manager there, I found myself being what I would call the liaison, or the public safety coordinator. And that included developing emergency response, multi-hazard functional response guide that the state of California had to approve for the city of Moore Park. Good thing, because we had El Nino floods, as you did up here, and we had other Northridge earthquake to respond to. I remember opening a storefront for the sheriff's department in Moore Park, the way our sheriff is trying to do, or has done, in the windmill. I'm not sure on the status of that. And just someone to coordinate all of the different services that we have, whether it's police or fire prevention, et cetera. So that's where I was heading, thinking of a position for our city and how we might implement some of these strategies. And then I presented, when we worked on the strategic plan, the sheriff described his contract and services, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. Fire department also, some of the things that they're actively involved in, some of the things that they'd like to be involved in is training, certified emergency response technician training. And then we have our private security contract. It's currently level 1. And we have code enforcement. And Rich does a little bit of both. He does some traffic enforcement. He does coordinate, do a little bit of investigation. And of course, he's also mostly dedicated to code enforcement. So those are some of the different things we're doing now. And when the sheriff came and spoke to the council in May, he had provided a list of things that they do and don't do. And then from that assessment of each of these service providers, we can ask ourselves, where does the city need to add or improve services? So that's kind of the background of why we're here, and appreciate your patience between May and now, getting through vacations and so forth. These are some of the things that the sheriff described. These were in the HRB staff report. They were in red print in the HRB Planning Commission staff report. The city pays for 25% coverage. If we wanted to pay for 100%, he thought that would cost our city $2.3 million. All of our general fund is close to about $2 million. So if we wanted to use all of our general fund just to pay for police, that's what he thought it would cost. I disagree. I don't know that it would cost that much. He said it didn't include traffic safety or animal control, and these are two serious concerns. Just last week, we had our 3rd complaint about animal abuse in our community. It was so sad to hear about, but it was a neighbor talking about the way her neighbor treats their German Shepherd. It's really sad. Anyway, I do see traffic safety occasionally in the sheriff's data, but it's mostly for things like DUIs and obvious things, not stop signs, not trucks. Those are things that we try and do with code enforcement, and we need some help there. So we've talked about an MOU with the Highway Patrol for traffic enforcement. That's a possibility. Dedicated deputy. The chair of the committee was just asking me that. Now that Captain Taylor is Sheriff Taylor, can we start moving on dedicated deputies? I believe so. He has now hired an undersheriff, so that's already progress since his appointment to the sheriff. So I see a capacity there building with our current contract with the sheriff. Regional coverage, accidents on 156 and other things. There's a number of public safety grants. The city is not in a position to be writing these grants. We haven't been. Tomorrow night, the council will look at a grant writer. So there's Office of Traffic Safety, OTS, Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security. They all have grants that we could be writing for to support our safety and sheriff contracts. And then our private security is currently unarmed with 1 patrol officer. working 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. So that's where we are. We have the ability to increase private security as needed. I think our efforts on 4th of July, which will be discussed in detail tomorrow night, are a good example of the three code enforcement, private security, and the sheriff all working together with the fire department. It was one of the best examples I've seen in this or any city. I just thought all four pieces came together well on the 4th of July. So that's what we'd like to have every day. Fire department, you know, our fire department is housed here mostly to respond to calls for service. They do some inspections and fire prevention work, but it's not as public as you might realize. They're inspecting businesses and they're inspecting apartments, but there's more that we could do in terms of fire prevention. They do work with the Canyon and the Fire Safety Council. They met in our library last month. Emergency preparedness is something we need to get out in front of. The county is updating its regional emergency preparedness plan, and we've been attending those meetings as often as possible. Community training and awareness, that's another thing that we could do better. I mentioned the certified emergency response technician, the CERT training that we've talked about before, and then the role of EMT and medical responses. Those are all things that the fire department can help us with. And then basically putting it in that framework, I was hoping each member of the committee could go around and just maybe list 3 or 4 priorities, why would you like, why are you happy to be on this committee? What are your specific areas of interest, and what should the top priority be? And you may all agree on all those things. I don't know, but this will help me. I'm going to take notes while you speak, and this will help me with future agendas and priorities. And it'll lead right into our mission statement, which was the next part of number 4. So, Chair Jordan, if you'd like to proceed and help me through this, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, I'll start us off. Why am I on the Public Safety Committee? For all of the reasons mentioned above, the 4th of July was absolutely amazing. Having the guys at the firehouse and the command center with the sheriff's department, code enforcement, and level 1 private security, and Anthony's camera system. He had one of his staff members come in and train everybody up. There was training with the fire department. I thought it all worked great. And it was really nice to see that for the very first time in a very long time in the city's history. So I would like to see that continue. Open dialogue, everybody getting together and discussing what's going to happen in upcoming weeks or for events that we have planned. What happened the last time we had an event or a situation? How did we all work together? I mean, we've even had the state parks work with us before. So to have all of those entities together is great. I would like to see us working more together than separate little conversations between everybody. And I'd also like to bring AMR in that, and the folks up in the canyon. Their name escapes me.
That's the Fire Safety Council.
Are those the group that do search and rescue?
The radio, the ham
Yes.
operator? Yeah.
Not. They wear big yellow, orange shirts or something. They're at a lot of events. We've had them before talk about fire in the canyon. Anybody help me out? Scott?
Well, we got the Fire Safety Council, and then years ago, the county tried to put together a CERT program, but they wanted us on our end over here in San Juan to run it. Actually, Curtis Hill asked me to run it, but all of my volunteers were already busy, so we didn't really have any CERT members on this side of the county because whoever was available or eligible, they were on the fire department. So there may be a lot of people out there now that are interested in the CERT program. And then the Fire Safety Committee is a committee. I know they meet in the San Juan Canyon, but I think it's countywide, and that's mostly SRA, state responsibility areas, and that's I think CAL FIRE spearheads a lot of that. So it'd be nice to get maybe CAL FIRE involved with some of that stuff too, but they may not, because we're not really an SRA city. We're a local response city. So that's what I know about those guys.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, Vice Chair Rachel, why are you on this committee?
I have a few concerns about how our safety has been going on. There's been, what I have seen is there's quite a few people walking their dogs without leashes.
Yes.
And I think that that's something that we need to be careful with a lot of seniors walking, and the students, especially now with school starting, a lot of kids walk to school and from school. I think that the city could do a lot more for our youth to have, more outlets. I don't think that the city even has a line item in their budget for youth recreation. So I think that needs to be looked at. The other thing is, I think that it's really important, and I feel quite strongly about this one, that we have credibility and trust of code enforcement and law enforcement. I think that a lot of people realize that the lack of enforcement that we have in town and takes advantage of it. But on the other hand, I also really want to encourage that we have, that residents feel protected in an equitable way, and that they're not intimidated or singled out or experience bias within the law enforcement or code enforcement. I think that that's something that needs to be really emphasized in our community, that they all feel safe, that they will be protected equitably. That's about it.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Scott?
Unmute yourself.
Please unmute yourself.
Tired. I am concerned a little bit about law enforcement. I mean, I think we could probably do a little bit better as far as coverage. I'm with Dawn. $2.3 million seems like a lot of money. I don't think we need 100% coverage, but it would be nice if the coverage was somewhat rotated. That way, if we do have a dedicated deputy here on occasion, it's not at the same time every day. And that's something they have to do in scheduling because of their union and their MOU. They can't change their schedule a certain amount of times every month, and I get that. I am concerned about the traffic conditions in town. On Graduation, or was it prom? I think it was on prom. I watched 6 cars of kids just blow through every Washington Street stop sign. They're all in a big hurry to go to some party, I guess. And not a single one of them stopped. And I was standing there with my mouth open. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. They were doing 45, 50 miles an hour too. So that would be great if we could get into some type of an agreement with CHP. Maybe they can do, monthly patrols every, if we can talk them into some MOU where they can pop into town and unannounced, so to speak. And, we can see CHP's, pretty respected. And if there's a couple CHP's cars parked in town next to some of the bad intersections, I think folks are going to slow down a bit. I would hope. And then a big one for me is our fire contract, I believe is up in less than 2 years. And I'd like to get behind that now and not do it last minute. And maybe look into contracting maybe elsewhere instead of Hollister Fire. We also have other options out there for fire protection. And as far as animal control, that's a tough one, isn't it? That's in the city of Hollister has their own animal control. It's not a countywide one. I don't know if we can get into an MOU agreement with animal control with Hollister, how much that will cost. And would that cut into our law enforcement? But it sure seems like there's a lot of laws on the books on animal abuse. And I don't understand why a deputy sheriff who in this county, we have a rural sheriff for farmland, ranch land. I don't understand what, if some horses are stolen down in Pinoche, they're going to go after whoever stole them. So if a dog is being beaten in Hollister or treated poorly, and it's covered under the penal code in California, I don't understand why that can't be, I just don't get why that can't be addressed. And then with the grants, Dawn, years ago, we were super successful with tons of grants. The Office of Transportation Safety, the Department of Justice, the Safer grants, and our fire chief, Rick Coakley, did those, and he brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars for us, and it's possible. It is possible, especially for our small communities. We just got to find the right people. He went back east to the FEMA headquarters and took the class and learned all the keywords and how to cut and paste, and it's doable. But I'm sure we've got a whole bunch of other stuff to address. So I'll just shut up now and let everybody else talk. I could probably go on.
We do have a full plate.
Yeah.
And I apologize for this first meeting. We are going in no particular order, but how the Brady Bunch is laid out on my screen. So Yolanda, you're up next.
Oh. Well, I agree with all the committee ad hoc that has spoken. And I liked what Scott said about the contract for the fire department is up. We can go with someone else. And I've talked to this with Dawn about maybe, this trouble that we have with the sheriffs. Maybe we should get another, like the Hollister Police Department. We can give them I was talking to a mayor, and he said, you could get more money bang for your buck and say, this is where we're getting. And the city police know what to do. Ticket abandoned cars, ticket rolling stops. The sheriff has issues with all that. I've seen them parked at the gas station, and people just roll that sign to go to the right and nothing's done. I mean, I don't understand, but maybe we should use another identity to do the contract if the sheriff's not working out, just like the Hollister Fire Department is not working out, like what Scott says. Maybe we should do that. Look elsewhere, because I'm not satisfied with what's going on with my neighbor, Mary Morales, called the cops, the sheriff department, because she thought somebody was in her backyard and they never showed up, never called her back up, nothing. She comes to me, so I go over there and check it out. So this is concerning to me. I had someone in my backyard throwing rocks over, And I called the police, asked Rochelle, she took the kids, we were in the house looking, it took them 50 minutes. This is ridiculous. And now that we have a lot of the gangs from Gilroy, Salinas, Watsonville intruding here and doing things, we really need to look stronger, because I would not feel comfortable if one of those people's at the windmills, you know this, Scott, and all of you guys, the kids from the high school work there. And they say, well, what did you do to protect my kid, the city of San Juan Bautista? We need to really focus on that. The kids are going, we're using that, they're so bored, like Miss Ponce said, they have nothing to do. There's no outlets. So they're getting the cans and throwing them up on the roofs of Commissioner Morris Lopez. You know, we need to do something for the youth, the safety of this town, because it's growing. The traffic is crazy. I've been living here 10 years and I see it backed up at 2:15. Scott, you can say, you said the traffic is crazy. You coming down, they come off, go down First Street to cut all that back up from this freeway. Have you noticed that? That we really need to look for stronger law enforcement here. And maybe we should look and see about the Hollister Police Department. And I know they know how to give tickets. I mean, I was not this 4th of July, last 4th of July, this kid on a go-kart, who hasn't driven a go-kart and loved it. He was holding those pyro things, and we called and they came, they ticketed him, took his mini bike. So so they do know. And thank you guys for setting up that 4th of July. I wasn't here. I was in Gustine in a nice pool. So I think we're heading forward. I like those traffic lights. Everybody was asking about them. They were nervous. They thought they were the traffic lights, you know, camera.
The camera's right.
Yeah. So, you know, we got to do something. It's not safe anymore here sometimes. In big festivals, people walk down, they get drunk, they get in the car and take off. We really need to be focused on this and be just try to save this city. We're getting more developments, 2 developments crossing, like Ms. Ponce said. Kids. I'm done.
Thank
Go
you very
ahead.
much. Thank you. Dave?
Thank you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to anchor this. No, but I too, like Yolanda and everybody, what everybody has to state at this time, my interest is exactly what everybody's pretty much talking about. But my personal interest that I have, as far as our community is concerned, is probably number 1 on my list is traffic control and enforcement as far as that goes. So whatever we can do to drum up the right, whatever we need to do to correct that or to improve that, you know, let's do it. That's probably, and what about foot traffic? Rachel was saying about the elderly and dogs and all this other stuff that goes on. And that has a lot to do with our foot traffic and what have you. What kind of path service do we have there for people of all ages to walk on and what have you? Is it open? Is it clear? Is it safe? Do we need to do a survey and find out where we need to go with this, as far as making sure that wherever we go, it's safe and it's easily traversable. The other thing too, when it comes to emergencies, when it comes to evacuation, when it comes to where is our paths? Where do we have to go to be safe? Where do we have to congregate to? Where do we meet up? Where do we team up to make sure that we got the right people in the right places to deal with any kind of emergency? Do we really have a plan to do that when it comes to evacuation, when it comes to addressing any one type of emergency, like floods, like fires and what have you? What does the community needs to do about that? The other thing too is how do we inform each one of us? How do we prepare ourselves for any type of emergency? How do we prepare ourselves when it comes to health and safety? You know, what about our good health or our welfare? What are we doing about the safety of our zones that we have, R1, whatever our zones are, what are we doing to make sure that they're safe, that when it comes to people being secure and safe from neighbors and that kind of a thing, what do we do? I mean, if something happens and we need to go get a hold of somebody where we need to help, then that's the other two. Who do we call? Where do we need to go? Who's going to have this information? And when it comes to emergency 911, what do we expect to get at the other end? When I call 111 and I have a particular need and it's San Juan, it has nothing to do with the county or but it does the city. Is that how effective is that? And do we need to look into that and see how prepared we are when it comes to a 911 call? Is one thing I'm thinking about. And then what about not only enforcement with anything that comes with safety? How about our security when it comes to securing the area, when it comes to fires, or when it comes to violence, when it comes to a shooter or anything like that? In today's environment, when it comes to violence and things like that, are we prepared when we are set up to do voting on a voting day or election day or something like that? I think the other thing too is to educate ourselves so that we are prepared. We are prepared to deal with any situation that comes up because we have been trained, because we know where to go when we need help and that kind of a thing. So when it comes to safety, what kind of education program do we have to get the word out to everybody that this is who we are as a community and where you go if you need help for whatever you need, that kind of a thing. I come from an industrial background where in management, we have to deal with all these things when it comes to chemical safety. What about environment? What about smoke? What about all these other things that might come up? And the other thing that I'm doing a little research ahead of this meeting, the questions I have, we've got a general plan, we got municipal codes that covers all these things. How we're connected to those. There's public safety in a general plan. There's a whole list of things. I believe there's 8 pages of that, and that's the public safety chapter. I think it's chapter 5 or title 5 or whatever that is. And there's several chapters in that. There's like 14 chapters. And then in the code enforcement, I'm going to do some research in that. Not code enforcement, I mean municipal code. When it comes to that, I'm going to do some research in that. What information we got there already that needs to be coupled, whatever we're doing in this particular committee. Anything else? I don't know. I would like to think that when we put this committee together, that we have a roadmap to completion. Where do we go? Who's going to do what? Where are we going to do what? Who's going to, is somebody going to go off and do what do you call it? A mission statement for the whole group or something like that. I don't know. What's the roadmap? How do we get involved so that when we come to every meeting every month, we got a set of instructions to be prepared for the next meeting, that kind of a thing. I'd appreciate that a lot. So there's 6 of us here. How we're going to spread that out between all 6 of us so that we all have responsibilities and tasks to take care of and come back and help out where we need to go with this. So I'd like to see a roadmap by the staff put together for us where we need to fill in the blanks by title. That'd be kind of nice to help us out where we need to go with this. And the other thing too, at the end of all this, are we going to hire staff for the city to take care of our safety program plans? That's it.
Thank you, David.
Well, those are really, really great points. Responding to some of David's questions. So when the council adopted its budget, it had 3 focus areas, and this committee has a $100,000 appropriation to develop some kind of strategy around. So I would think, as we look at the next bullet, and we talk about how the committee will operate as an ad hoc committee or standing committee, we would also think about how we might best use those resources to address our different issues that we talked about right now. David, there's also a safety element within the general plan. So the general plan itself addresses safety and our priorities there as well, our policies. So those can all be brought together and tied together by this committee. That would be great. Speaking to an RFP for services, I thought I was looking at the fire department contract today with the mayor, and I thought it went out more than just a couple of years, Scott. I think it goes out as far as 2025, actually. It's fairly new. And the second year of it. The police, the sheriff contract is 3 years and will be ending soon. So the sheriff contract, we might want to look at sooner than later, especially with the new sheriff in town. The issue of CAL FIRE and other fire resources,
Yes.
that's interesting to consider. So I really appreciate all your ideas, and I'll try and type this into some form of summary for us so that we have it for the next meeting. I do want to try and keep minutes so that, as David suggested, we're not readdressing the same questions all the time, that we're moving forward with a definite, clear understanding that we have together. So, so these are all really good issues. 9/11.
Don,
Yes,
Ms. Ponson wants to say something.
Sorry to interrupt. I don't know what the protocol is to ask questions.
that's fine.
But I saw that Hollister is looking into their contracts, and our fire contract is going to be under review. So maybe we need to look at that also and not wait till, what did you say? It's up in 25?
2025.
Yeah, so maybe we need to start looking at that just as, proactive, because Hollister is starting to look, City of Hollister is looking at their contracts. And it didn't sound like they were real happy with ours. So.
Yeah, which was interesting. We started some of that research today.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if we could get our contracts, a copy, if the committee can get a copy of our
Sure.
contracts.
Sure, happy to do that.
For not only
For sheriff,
yes,
for code enforcement, that's not really a contract, that's a job description. For level 1, for AMR.
We don't have one with AMR.
They just sit here?
AMR, that's through the county.
Okay. I'm thrilled that they hang out in a house here on the corner of.
Sometimes.
yeah.
There's a lot of times they're not in town all day because Hollister, they're running calls all day. At
Right,
Hollister.
absolutely. And well, that's what they get paid for. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm thrilled they're close by.
We can look into their response, their time, their response time with the county. They should have to fall under a specific time to be anywhere in town here.
Okay.
Can we set up in the future maybe a workshop for the community as far as public safety is concerned? And I like what was said about the San Juan Canyon and how about the San Juan Valley? They play an important part of our community too. So are we going to spread the news out to them when it comes to public safety, what have you?
So Don and I also spoke about that today. If we should put this on Facebook and open it up to the public, if we should invite the public to all of our meetings, how our meetings in the future will look. And I don't understand the difference between a standing committee or an ad hoc committee. I guess.
Yes, the ad hoc committees are temporary, where a standing committee is subject to the Brown Act and is a more formal committee. And especially with public engagement, you probably want to do this in a more formal way and just have it a standing committee.
Yep.
And,
I agree with that. How does everybody else feel with that?
I'd like to get all of us on the same page and going in the right direction before we bring in.
Yes.
Because Rachel is the representative for our residents. So if residents have issues, maybe they can go to Rachel and Rachel can relay them to us. If not, we're going to be group thinking the heck out of all this stuff, and it's going to take decades to get stuff done.
Right.
And I have absolutely no problem with bringing the public in a little bit later, but let's get it done.
I agree with that. I think we should get this all laid out and bring it to the public.
Yolanda?
Yeah. David, do you remember when we went to our first council meeting, commissioner meeting? And there was one city, there was a little city, I wrote it down somewhere, where they developed, and I've talked to on the planning commission about this, where they developed evacuations for fire or any kind of things like emergency, like somebody's house is burning, and they all had these drills, and they had the high school kids for community service cut the elderly's lawn. Do you remember that? Do you remember that?
I remember a whole bunch of stuff like that, but I can't pinpoint it.
Okay, yeah, and maybe and like what you and Scott are saying, we need to develop a plan of safety. What if it's an earthquake? Go here, do this, and then they used to have once a month. They used to have a drill, and then go cut the elderly's grass and pick up the weeds and stuff like that. So if we could develop that and then incorporate the youth in it as well, and give them, because they need community hours. So
I think when it comes to this task, I think we need to go where Scott said, we need to put this on paper first and then
absolutely,
and then educate where we need to go. So this is the first step.
Yeah, no, before we do all that, we need to have it on paper. What, like there's an earthquake, go here, fire here, no water for 2 days, go here, all of that we should have.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Rachel is a good filter for us to determine what's the temperature out there when it comes to our public opinion. And maybe Facebook too.
Yeah. Who's gonna control Facebook? Dawn, do we have somebody to control the Facebook when we have it?
We almost do. The position closes next week.
How many people applied?
More than 10.
Cool.
Oh, that's great.
Nice, very
Good.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to hear people want to go back to work.
They can always call City Hall as well.
Yeah, that's the thing too, and that's as what we're doing here. I mean, that you guys are hitting it on the head. The more information we give, the less stories are built, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's not a bad thing. And then when we go back to if you go back to a countywide type disaster, we're going to be a small player in that because the county will go to what's called an EOC, an Emergency Operations Center.
Right.
And, some of our folks will fall under that EOC, as far as like Dawn will be the checkbook for the city of San Juan, and the fire chief will probably oversee most of the emergency stuff. But they do have a protocol for that. During the floods in '97, they failed to call us for almost a week, but as my volunteers were sleeping on the floor at the fire station covered in mud for almost 4 days until we found out that they had an EOC established. So it'd be nice also to make sure that the county, remembers we exist also.
Yes.
Well, we can
Very
add to
much so.
we can add to the protocol when they fail to call. When they fail to call, this is what you do.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
They'll actually dictate what goes on because they'll pick it. And most likely CAL FIRE, if it's in this county or whatever, CAL FIRE will probably be the incident management team if it's something big.
Right.
So.
And for everyone's information, I was on weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, and 3 times a week a year ago. with Chris
Yeah.
Mangano, who runs the Office of Emergency Services, and all the other disciplines, including Cal, Office of Emergency Services, State OES, the Santa Cruz 911 folks were on. We had everyone on these meetings, there were probably 15 of us, and we would meet 2-3 times a week during when COVID first started. So San Juan was at the table for sure.
Good.
So they know to call us.
Right. And if we have an emergency within the city itself, how that would look. I mean, does staff have EOC training, Don?
So when the declaration of emergency occurred in March, all of us went through FEMA training, took 2 and 3 courses, including Nick and myself and the code enforcement officer. So I have a lot of training in that regard, as I expressed from my experience with Moore Park, California, and the disasters that they actually had. So I'm freshening up and getting to know some of the latest acronyms. Social media didn't exist back in the 90s when I was doing this. So things are a little bit different, but I'm also a certified public information officer. That happened after the Sobranis fire, when they ran out of PIOs because that fire lasted so long in Big Sur. So yes, we have gotten our staff trained, and they are familiar with the emergency operations and how it's to be set up, and that's what the council chambers is for. So
Perfect.
yeah, unfortunately, we got to practice last year.
Yeah, for water outages or power outages with the rolling power outages. Fortunately,
Yeah.
we're not in the next wave, but you never know.
And our role as well, as you mentioned, the canyon, they're to evacuate, I think, first the San Juan. For some reason, they picked the San Juan golf course to evacuate to, and not San Juan Bautista. But eventually, I think they would be at San Juan School, and that would be their shelter. And so if there were a fire in the canyon, we need to support them. So we need to know that, and we need to practice that, and we need to be aware of that. So,
Absolutely. And sorry, Scott, the golf course might not be an option as a sale is pending. So it might be closed for quite some time with construction. So something to consider to have something in town like the school or the soccer field or wherever. Sorry, Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, I can answer the question why they're going there. They're at midway up the canyon. There's a little area called Harmony Hills. There's a road that goes down to San Justo Reservoir, which is right in front of the golf course. So that's the route of travel they'll take. They won't take a route of travel down the canyon because emergency equipment will be going up the canyon and the fire will be running up the canyon. So they're to go out either that road or up to Fremont's Peak and shelter in place there in the large area, the large parking area. They use I would only guess that they're using the golf course because there's plenty of space to put people. Eventually, evacuees would probably be moved to, if it gets really bad, it'd probably be the fairgrounds. Because it's a big facility that can handle multiple people. We would get taxed in seconds. I can tell you this from the floods. I had the community center open, and the problem with community center is they couldn't keep up. It wasn't staying warm enough in there because it had an old heating system. Now it's much better. So we had to open the VFW too, and they got their big fireplace going. And the VFW has a kitchen also, and so does the community center. So that's where most of the people from the San Juan Valley went when the valley was flooded, because we didn't know they started an EOC over in the county. So that's just a little history on the San Juan Canyon and the direction of travel for everybody.
That road that you were talking about have access to the reservoir. Is that road need any kind of improvements?
No, that road was built originally because they were using the quarry up at the top of the canyon for the
one.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that CAL FIRE runs their dozer down there periodically. So it's a decent road. And if it's summertime, it's gonna be hard packed anyway. It's not like it's mud.
Right.
Yeah, during the floods, we did have significant mudslides in the canyon, and a lot of people were trapped up there for quite some time. And then that's one thing they won't be able to do is take that dirt road on the way out, unless they've improved it with some type of a hard pack. So that's something to think about too. The ham radio folks would probably be huge if we have some up there. I know we have some down below.
We do.
I can tell you Juan Candelaria and I are talking about opening or starting an AM radio station in town. So that may help also.
I know one other thing that I'm accustomed to is that when you have an incident, we have a review process to make sure that we prevent that incident from happening again, or what do we do to mitigate it in the future, kind of a thing. So do we have a review process in our safety plan to make sure that when we're involved with emergencies or when we're involved with incidents, do we have a review process that says, gee, this is what so we can learn from it and learn from it so that we can avoid problems that might come up because of it.
I unfortunately have been calling them postmortems, and that's not the right word.
Yeah.
They're called critical.
Yeah, but that's really helpful because it really puts the focus on everybody to learn what we need to do to stay ready for anything.
Absolutely. Yes. That should occur after every incident.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't call them critiques. Can't call them critiques anymore. We have to call them critical incident debriefings.
Yeah.
Because we're not to criticize anybody. So that's
Well, and something that I did in Moore Park, which really touched home in 2008, was we did a desktop exercise, bringing all the agencies together, and we practiced what a wildfire response would be like. And sure enough, it came right through from Fillmore in 2008 and burned the homes across the street from Moore Park City Hall. And probably Hollister Fire was there. I know Salinas Fire was there. And so these desktop exercises are great. I had no idea how much the city manager hated the superintendent of schools until I brought them together for a tabletop exercise. So, so you learn these things ahead of time and put them in different rooms if you have to.
Yeah. I think tabletops are great. Great ideas. We used to have them all the time in my last company.
Okay.
Very, very beneficial.
Well, that's been great. Are people, sorry, I'm trying to move along. I was trying to keep it to 90 minutes for everyone out of respect. Standing committee or ad hoc? Ad hoc for now until further
So ad
notice.
hoc for now, yes, I think is what we decided.
Okay.
yes, please.
And our third Mondays, I hope that everyone seemed to agree to third Mondays being okay.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Um,
is this time okay, or do people want to do it earlier?
Yeah. What time of day on Monday? My calendar's open.
Sorry, this time or later, I think was the
Well,
suggestion.
I
That's what I
think,
think.
Leslie, I think you're the one impacted the most because correct me if I'm wrong, the rest of us are all retired. So,
So Don, except for Don.
well, Don just said his schedule is wide open on Mondays, so or on
I have no
this.
standing meetings, and Yolanda's schedule's pretty busy with school and stuff. I know she's got.
Yeah, I'm starting to take the boys Wednesdays. Thank you, Jesus.
So you're available on Monday at 4?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. If there's no tractors in front of me coming from Watsonville.
Hey, come on! I was in Fort Bragg this morning and I made it in time. So
You gotta. One thing I do know, in coming out of Watsonville, that San Juan grade, as soon as it says 25, when you're going 55, there's a cop there, and he always gives everybody tickets, man. You make your money right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm okay with 4.
Yeah, just tell me what time, if it's later or earlier, so I can make
Adjustments.
Yes, there you go.
No, I'll try and keep it the same.
So we're going with 4 o'clock on the third Monday?
On the third Monday, yes.
Are you good with that?
Yeah,
I'm good.
We can roll call on that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, so just real quick, the mission statement, we have about 20 minutes if we need it. When we were talking about our strategic plan with the city council, we were talking about the 5 focus areas. Partnerships is related to this one, but that's preserving our size and our character amongst the 5 things. And the last one was quality of life. And this is where being able to enforce our laws, being able to keep our properties and our neighbors clean and in good repair, all that kind of thing falls under quality of life, the ability of parks, like you were saying, active transportation, pedestrian and bicycle transportation. And that's when we were talking with the sheriff and fire about gaps in service. So it's one thing to write a bunch of laws. It's another thing to enforce them. I think our eyes were wide open when we discovered we had a 1912 law that banned all fireworks, and we didn't enforce it. So, but it's not just about enforcement. I think the old concept of getting neighborhoods together and having, if you want to call them neighborhood watch groups or whatever, that breeds leadership for the future of our governance, and it helps communities work together to watch each other. I know the mayor's real active watching out for her neighbors, and Franklin Circle is the same. So it's really, we could formalize that. We could have block captains. We could have a group out in Copperleaf, maybe 1 or 2 groups in Rancho Vista, and try and bring in all the neighborhoods together in the same place once in a while would be great. So that's one of the things I could see us moving towards. And I know Brian, our new assistant city manager, is really excited about putting these neighborhood groups together for us. So I tried to just take a stab at starting a mission statement based on that quality of life notion. So I just started out as the Public Safety Committee's mission to assess public safety services and improve the quality of life in San Juan Bautista by, I don't know, anyone want to help me take a stab at this?
By January.
By January? No. By spending $100,000 on cones and stuff.
That's a pretty good start. Might be a pretty good finish.
By January would be good. Wouldn't it? Yes,
No. I meant just the statement itself.
Yes.
I mean, it could be short and sweet. Doesn't have to be long.
No, it doesn't.
Just delete the by and the dots and we're good to go.
Hey, I'm ready for item number 6.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, that might be food for thought until the next meeting, but I think it's pretty close to where we want to be.
Yeah, if everybody wants to jot down their mission statement and bring it.
And put it out and send it out, I guess.
And send it out, and we can have our mission statement by the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm terrible with mission statements, so I'm gonna.
Oh, no, you're not.
So you're gonna-
We want to see the terrible ones first,
Here,
because
right here.
the better ones.
It is the Public Safety Committee's mission to assess public safety. I'm just gonna write that again. That looks good to me. I mean, these
It's an
mission statements,
assessment.
they went out with the 90s, but let's do them.
Yes, Rachel?
I would like something in our mission statement to address the equity portion.
Ooh.
I think that is very important in our community. We need to emphasize that we are going to be impartial. We can't have favoritism, we can't have bias, and we can't have intimidation. Those things are not good for our community. It's not good for building safety. It's counterproductive. And I would like something to that effect in the mission statement, to communicate that to the community.
I
Very
say
good.
yes.
Very good.
This has been a hot topic in every city. And so I get a lot of city manager newsletters talking what other cities are doing. And in fact, we actually responded to a survey how many cities have a public safety committee and what's their role, you know? And so this is what it's all about. From a year ago with George Floyd and other things, equity is the focus of a lot of these different cities work in this regard.
In your statement below, you say filling the gaps in service is one of our part of our statement that you put in there. Do we know what we don't have gaps with? I mean, where are we right now? Where do we stand? If we're going to just be filling the gaps here, do we know where there isn't a gap we don't have to fill?
That's a good question. I'm just going on the public testimony we had
Be a
earlier.
lot easier to fill if we don't have to fill a gap.
Right. Well, just for example, when the sheriff said that they don't do traffic enforcement, we all
Yeah.
kind of looked at each other dumbfounded and said, well, no wonder we need more traffic enforcement. Who's doing it?
And oddly enough, when Captain Taylor got his new badge or whatever it was that transpired there up on the steps, he said that that's what they did. They do traffic safety. They do everything that he said that they will do under his watch, everything that is not currently being done in San Juan with their area checks. And I'd like a definition of area check.
Is it just me or I think that I've noticed, actually I have noticed the sheriff's car around town more since Taylor took on the position.
Mhm.
They are here. I see them drive around a lot and I'm not here often. But what does that entail? What is an area check? Do they drive 5 miles an hour through town looking for stuff?
Exactly.
Or do they get out of their car? That's the
Or do
complaint
they
I
get out of
often
their car? Yeah, do they walk the town?
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be a dedicated sheriff. That could be the person who is
He says,
driving through for 15 or 20 minutes. Yeah, that's why I asked for a copy of the contracts to see what bang do we get for our buck.
Yeah. Do we, would it be helpful to have strengths and weaknesses before we do the mission statement? Or is that too complicated?
I've never done one in Zoom.
We're gonna get done by January. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
Strengths and weaknesses of each department?
Well, the mission statement is, I mean, it doesn't identify specifically the departments, and maybe with the strengths and weaknesses, we can identify those. I don't know. I was just wondering about that.
That's what I meant by assessment, assessing what services we have.
Okay,
The strengths and weaknesses of them.
okay.
Those are going to change, our gaps or our priorities are going to change as the years go by. So I don't know I think we might be changing the mission statement constantly. From what I remember, a mission statement's pretty much an overview of what we're dealing with.
yeah, it sets the stage. In other words, you pick a topic that you know about and you can talk about it for hours. So it's just one word, 2 words, or a sentence that says, hey, it stands for everything we're talking about, everything we're doing. And there is such thing as a mission statement, and there's also objective statement too. So you might want to break what your mission statement is by putting an objective statement in as well, which itemizes those things you're going to be addressing that addresses the mission statement. So that's another way of doing it too, if you want. So you get more specifics. Here's our general statement of what we're heading. This is the one that we march to, but how we do it is our objective statement. We'll do this, and that. So that's another way of doing it. And it was done in the 50s too.
When? Just
Probably
kidding.
the 80s.
All part of my graduate degree. Right.
Yeah.
We can take a stab at that. I
But
can
the
take
other
a
thing
stab.
too, where you have law enforcement laws as important as having them, that's where education comes in and ownership. You know, and also the word security, when it comes to law enforcement, you know, how secure are we based on our enforcement? So in other words, you know, every time we do something based on the laws that we put on the books is to secure our community, that it stays safe.
And that gets back to Rachel's point. Very powerful anecdote about the teenager who was shot in Florida. The gentleman in the car who saw an African American in a hooded sweatshirt is nervous and suspicious, so he calls the police. And the boy in the hooded sweatshirt feels nervous that this white guy's looking at him, and he doesn't call police, he calls his girlfriend. So one person's security, you know, sometimes when the police show up, that makes others nervous. And other times when the police show up, it makes them feel comfortable. And so I think trying to see things through these various lenses is really important, as Rachel suggested.
Yes, I agree with that.
And enforcement, taking ownership of it, that means when we come to a stop sign, we actually stop. And realize, because we're doing that, we're making our community safer. So it's taking ownership. How do we educate that into our community to make sure that when people walk their dog, they're doing it properly? When they walk across the street, they're doing it properly. When they drive through town, everybody takes ownership of making sure they do that. How do we do that so that when people even drive through our community, realize, you know, this is a safe community. I'm going to stop at every stop sign. I'm going to drive the speed limit. That's ownership.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The night my contract was approved, I was actually very happy, and I left town and I drove right through the stop sign in front of the Mission Garden Apartments. And I asked myself, who put that stop sign there? Oh my gosh. And ever since then, I've been stopping at it every time. Like, oh my gosh, I've only been city manager 5 minutes and I've already broken the law.
That's okay. We got it covered. Every once in a while it happens, but we're so safe. Something like that, something like that, it's still being safe. It happens once in a while. We're prepared for that. We walk the talk.
Anything else on the mission statement?
Nope.
Safety committee swag that we can wear, t-shirts. I'm on the safety committee.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, more like bullseye.
Bullseye. For a Far Side comic like that. I think
Yeah.
Adair was wearing one of those.
That's where you get the pat on the back.
Sure you
Well,
do.
it's going to take work. I'm really grateful that you all stepped up. So
Yeah, this is gonna be good. Okay, third Mondays, 4 o'clock. Everybody send in a mission statement. Scott, you can copy and paste.
That sounds good. Ditto.
for our next meeting, I think we need to just take a look at these contracts that we're already
Yeah.
engaged in.
And can we have them beforehand, Don? I mean, so we
Yes.
can address.
Yeah.
I will
Thank you.
get them out. I will get them out in the morning, Yolanda. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
The only other thing we didn't bring up was the smart city.
Yeah, that was interesting that you shared. Thank you for sharing that with us. David sent, he summarized in an email which has all the links in it. And then he also sent me all of the various studies that he was referring to. Smart cities is a way of using technology. And And that was one of the things that I hope we delve into. Just one example is if we get Wi-Fi coming down from our water tank for our downtown, when that happens, we'll have the ability to use that for cameras and other things, telemetry for our pumps and lift stations. It would be a really great tool. So using that smart technology to help our city understand what's happening and monitor 24/7 kind of thing, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to, David, did you want to talk more on the smart city article?
Well, there's that. There's data information that you can, which affects your economy and makes it more effective as far as your economy goes. It builds into that. The other thing is security.
Yeah.
You got monitors and cameras out there, that takes
Yeah.
the place of police forces and stuff like that. That it's not for our use, but it is for the police department and for the city to use. And this is a tool too that you can use for evacuations and what have you. So it just helps you for your preparation. So a smart city means they use whatever technology there is available that you can use through electronics means that you can use that information to run your city. Not only that, it generates applications. It generates, if people have emergency problems and stuff like that, they can send out an alert that there's a problem in their community or something like that. And it's real-time information, and it's also historical information that you can use to monitor your city so that every step that you take, you can use that to project what you need to do. For instance, if you have a system in place to monitor whatever your needs are for the city, it keeps you abreast of what your needs are, and you just go to the system and it orders it for you. If you need materials, if you need chemicals, if you need whatever, it monitors everything, even the water levels and what have you. So you can keep an eye on things, and as you do that, you can find ways to save money and time
Yes.
and work.
What, work? That's a dirty word.
So I've been working with Steve Adams in King City. They've had great success installing a camera system there. We have a local resident, you probably know John Hopper. He's a professional at this stuff. We've spent an hour meeting with him talking about cameras as well. So we need to bring that forward to this committee when they're ready, when you guys are ready, and talk about some neat projects like that.
Absolutely. So can we adjourn now, or?
Well, we need to talk about what's going to be on, what we're going to talk
okay.
about next meeting. And it sounds like for one will be
Contracts?
the contracts,
I think that could take the whole meeting.
probably.
Yeah, probably does. Yeah.
Okay,
And zero in on the mission statement.
Yes.
and the mission statement, yes.
Okay, very good.
So no guests for next week,
No.
and or for next meeting, sorry, not next week, sorry, Don. Okay, so mission statement and contracts
Got it.
is next agenda.
So noted. Okay. I'll have minutes on there too.
Perfect. Okay,
Okay.
anything else?
September 4th at 4, no, not September 4th.
September 20.
20?
20th at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Perfect.
you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Dave.
much.
Thanks, Todd. Thanks.
Have a great night.
Thanks,
Thank
Dave. All right.
Bye.
Where's the pizza and beer?
Bye, Yolanda.
You're on your way.
Here you go. Bye.
Bye.
So Rachel, to leave, there should be two buttons. One, Don can kick everybody off, or in the lower right, there should be a red leave button. If you hover your mouse over it.
I'm gonna end the meeting for everyone.
or Don can just kick us all off.